And this episode was brought to you by DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbooking app. Not only is it safe, Deke, but it is secure and reliable.
Always a great thing.
No question. And for all the first-time users out there, if you use the promo code MOATS, you will receive up to $1,000 in deposit bonus money. So, Deke, you like free money, right?
Who doesn't?
You also like the opportunity to win more money, correct?
Especially when it involves sports.
So, what are they waiting on? Download the app, use the promo code, and you get that. You get that opportunity to make some more money, baby. So literally, stop wasting time. Download the app, use the promo code, and get that opportunity, baby. The return of Haley?
I would be down with it.
Are we down for the return of Haley? For me, because obviously he was the OC when I was here throughout, all 4 of my years here. I loved him as the OC. I think his play calling is really good. I think his feel for calling plays, because that's the difference, right? We talk about you can have a guy who's great at designing plays, but has zero clue when to call these plays. And then you got the alternative. You can call them great, but you don't know how to design anything. I thought Haley had a good feel for both. Now, obviously, the big issue with him is him and Ben's relationship. That's ultimately why he got fired or didn't get his contract renewed after a 40-point outburst in the playoffs. You know, granted, we lost to the Jags, but they still put up 40. And the offense throughout the season was still very productive.
Oh, yeah. That was the one with Juju,
absolutely,
Juju Martavis.
Yeah, that was all under Haley. And he got, he wasn't brought back. His services weren't retained after that year. But we know that was solely because of him and Ben and how they bumped heads. And yeah, it's no secret. That was an issue. Even in practice, you would see it. You just kind of live with it. It is what it is. I'm not opposed to him returning, though, but that dynamic would have to be a little bit different now, because I do think this go around, if he were to be brought back, that Haley would have more importance than Ben. I think beforehand, it was the opposite. Ben had more importance than Haley, which was why when it came down to decision-making time, you ride with Seven. At this stage in Seven's career, you've already said it, best case next 3 years. Best case scenario, right? And that's if he finds fault in the youth and can play more consistent 3 years. With whoever you bring in as the offensive coordinator, you're expecting him to be here a lot longer than that. That's the steal away. They keep their guys under tenure for multiple years. So to me, whoever you bring in as OC, that has to be very clearly communicated to not just Ben, but to the rest of the offense that, hey, this coordinator, his job is to coordinate, no longer be a yes man for Ben. I think that has to be the approach when you go forward.
So yeah, it's either you pick the coordinator with the 4 or 5 years in mind, or do you just go this year with Canada and then you figure it out afterwards? Are those the two approaches?
Realistically, yeah. They could promote from within with Canada. No guarantee that Canada would do well. He doesn't have offensive coordinator experience at the NFL level. Just rumors about did he call plays, did he not call plays, but no one really knows 100%. So you could take that chance, but to me personally, I think if you go that route, you're just going to get what we already have been seeing in terms of Ben. If he wants to call these plays, he's going to call these plays. Whereas if you bring in somebody different, a little bit more of a high profile, category, right? And I'm not saying Doug Peterson because I want him. I'm just simply saying for namesake, Doug Peterson, he's a very respectable offensive mind. People respect that. If he were to be brought into the organization, they would respect that. Ben can big boy Matt Canada in terms of Ben has seen more football at the NFL level than Canada. He has more experience, more success. It's different when you're talking about
goes
like
to
Doug
that
Peterson,
iron sharpens iron thing that Tomlin talks
Whereas
about.
Doug Peterson, they're going to look at each other like, hey, I respect what you say. Not only have I seen this when you're a quarterback, but you also have won Super Bowls as a head coach with different quarterbacks in terms of how you generated that success. So I think it would be different. Now, my only concern is this. Outside of Dick LeBeau and when Keith Butler was the linebackers coach, we typically do not pay our assistant coaches competitive rates from a whole NFL standpoint. They're not the worst, but to get some of these marquee names that we speak of, right? When you think of your Zach Taylors, your Eric Bieniemys, your Brian Dabols, all these higher end guys, you typically got to pay a lot more to get those level guys as coordinators.
Why don't we do that?
We like to go in-house for the promotion. Continuity. So you see how you can spin it, right? Some people will say it's cheap. Some people would just say, oh, they promote from within. They like to keep the
Was Haley
continuity.
considered a high profile? I mean, it was kind of. I don't know what the contract was. Did it match that?
This was the thing with Haley. Now remember, this was right after he got fired from Kansas City when they brought him on as the OC. So his numbers might have been more favorable because
he's got some connection here, right?
I believe so. I don't know the full history behind Haley, but I do know that played a part into it. Whereas he was on the decline, right? He was head coach, and now it's all right. You ain't head coach no more. OC, this is the money we're gonna offer you. Take that. Guys like Bieniemy, guys like Dable, guys that are under the McVay tree.
They could go head coach or coordinator.
So that money is gonna have to reflect that. If you're Bieniemy and I can get head coaching jobs, if you're gonna pay me to be an OC, my money better reflect that, hey, I was a head coaching candidate. My money says so.
Right.
And right now, the Steelers historically, like I said, they increased Keith Butler's salary when he was a linebackers coach, and he was getting compensated at a high level at the time. Then obviously when they bumped up to DC, that compensation isn't the same. High level position coach isn't the same as high level coordinator from a pay standpoint. So even then, once that happened, that kind of balanced that whole thing out. So outside of Dick LeBeau, they really haven't paid a substantial amount to an assistant coach. So to me, it makes me wonder also, are we expecting too much from some of these guys because they're not compensated like that? We expect greatness from Randy Fichtner, but he wasn't compensated at that level. We're going to expect greatness from Matt Canada if he's promoted, but he's not going to be compensated on a level that the great coordinators are paid at. So to me, that's my thing when I'm thinking about that a lot more. It's a lot of variables because I'm like, yeah, we can make this wish list of candidates that I think would be great here, but I don't think we're going to pay them what it would take for them to come here. And that to me is going to be a big issue, man.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting.
But that's why I wanted to know, like I said, from y'all, man. If you're open to Haley coming back,
I'm definitely open to Haley coming back. I liked the offense when he was here.
It was
really
exciting.
The only thing I didn't like was maybe the screens or the no QB sneaks. Outside of that, Ben had some of his best years, man.
I heard the screens, I heard no QB sneaks, and I heard the 3rd and 1, 4th and 1 taking shots downfield.
I don't mind that.
Yeah, I love that. Like I said, I love that. It made like I said, when it first got introduced to me, because coming from Buffalo, we never saw that style of play. But I get here, and the first couple of times I might have threw up on myself a little bit, like, oh God, it's 31. Why are you throwing it downfield? And then it starts having me like, oh, all right, I got you now.
Honestly, would the screens be the worst thing with how our offensive personnel is right now? Little screen Deontay. I mean,
I'm telling you, listen, Haley can design. Haley knows how to call plays. Haley's issue was never on the field. That was never a Haley issue. The biggest thing with Haley was his relationship with Ben. And then obviously some of the local establishments on the North Shore, they weren't very kind to him. Outside of that, Haley can coach his tail off as an offensive coordinator. So that's why for me, I'm not opposed to it. Now and now you might probably can answer this better. In the history of the Steelers, have they had scenarios where coaches have left and come back? No. I know with players they have. I tell you, Will Allen, William Gay were guys that left, came back, but I don't remember that ever happening with coaches.
No, not in recent history. I don't know if someone could talk about like the 90s under Cowher, or even going back to like late 70s or 80s under Noel. I have no clue.
If that is realistic, then sure. I mean, I love that.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if it's realistic or not.
Then I don't. Yeah, I just don't have a clue. Now, the reason Doug Peterson always is brought up is obviously because of the connection here, right? Between him being.
I didn't even know he had a connection here.
No. In terms of, I forgot why they were saying. I want to say it's because of the whole being in the same state scenario. Yeah. I think that was what that's what they're alluding to. But then obviously he was under Andy Reid. That's why Kansas City's the other link.
Okay.
In terms of he was going to take that role of offensive coordinator.
Like if Bieniemy leaves for a head coaching job.
Because more than likely Bieniemy will be gone this year. He's going to be one of the top head coaching candidates. He's already been, I want to say they already have him in line to interview at 2 or 3 different spots already. So that's
happened before with McDaniels going to the Broncos, the head coach going back to the Patriots.